Okay, hello, don't mind my fan in the background. I just wanted to do an unboxing review of these pencils and kind of a swatch test. I'm gonna use the back of this paper. So these are Rembrandt watercolor pencils um, made by Lyra in Germany, and since 1806 they are artist grade. So they're light resistance, 4 millimeter barrel, and claims break resistant. I've kind of heard otherwise, but anyway. So yeah, it says water soluble color pencils for artists because it's light fast and because they're highly pigmented. All right, so just looking at the back of these, see anything special? They do offer 72 shades in this line. And that's about it. It says, what does it say? Any of this? That's pretty much it. And here are the colors. The colors are white, lemon, orange, geranium, or pale geranium lake, geranium hell. I like that better. Dark carmine, light blue, Prussian blue, which is my favorite color, kind of. So long green, apple green, Van Dyke brown, and Venetian red, and black. So great colors. Right here, it doesn't say anything else. Okay, so go ahead and open that. Oh, but I'm gonna do a swatch test on this paper. This is Hanamiya paper. It is mold made, 300 grams, 640, cold press, fine grain paper. I am using the back side of it as opposed to the front. The front side is just because I used it up and I didn't want to use another sheet of paper just for swatches, at least not yet. So just gonna compare really quick because this is perfect paper, by the way, cold press mold made for watercolor pencil. And because most paper with so watercolor can be great with a lot of variety of papers. I learned watercolor pencil doesn't. Certain papers will blend or travel better, lift better, and the truth can be said with any watercolor, of course. But the way that the pencils are pressed into paper, the way that they are become soluble with the water, just the way they break down. Just some paper is just better whenever it dries, and there's no paper better than this Hanamiya mold made 300-gram paper or 140-pound because of how it blends out and smoothens up. I mean, there's no streaks that came out in these, you know. This is a Windsor Noon, so there was a little streaking there. My brush isn't the best brush, but like, I mean, everything blends out smoothly. So anyway, the reason I say that is because I'm going to use the back side. And the back side of a lot of papers aren't that great or designed for that specifically, just because it's printed one way. But so for an example of how they're going to look, I'm going to have to compare it to this. So these are Caran d'Ache pencils. On the other side, they blended amazing. They were more vivid, and they blended really well. Sorry, you know what? I don't have my light on. Let me turn on my light. It washes out, but that's okay. Like, it washes out what I'm looking at, so you can see, but that's okay. Alright, so that's the red and blue Caran d'Ache, and I mean, it blends out really well. You can even see the pigment break up there and how it just blends out there, layered out. So, compared to this, we'll see that it blends out okay. I mean, it blends out like regular watercolor, even though it's the back. So we're gonna use that. Let me just do that up here. And I really just wanted to do kind of like a color chart. I'll do maybe swatch this on another paper as well to do a color chart to keep, just so I have it. But color pencils, it's a little easier to see the colors. They're usually like labeled or have the band on it or whatever. But I don't know about these, so we'll find out because it looks like it's just wood grain. In which case, I'll make a chart for it. This is a paper. I thought this was the tin. It's not the tin. It folds out. So there's that. I hadn't seen a lot of reviews on this much, so I thought I'd do one. These have been around forever though, so that's probably why, probably before YouTube. So let's update that guy. So that's the sleeve. This is the case. Nice little case. Unlike the Winsor Newton box, which is the same size, it seems like this actually has a hinge on it, which I think is better. And it opens up. Oh, so it's backwards. So it opens up this way, and it is color coded on the bottom. and they did appear to arrive in great condition. But if you look at the bottom, look at that. That's weird. It's got specks of different paint all on it. It seems like it must be from the factory that it was made at, just because that's a lot of different colors of paint. I mean, like, I see red, blue, green, white, at least. So, and then here's green, black, green, red. Either way, they're all water soluble, and judging from the tips on these, it didn't come from these pencils, so it must be factory related. But still want to record it because that's how they look when they come out of the box. So not the best condition, unlike other pencils. They do have some more, it looks like paint, watercolor paint on this as well. So I'm sure they were just thrown around in the factory before they were brought back. I don't mind, but that is a little weird. It's probably like the worst condition pencils I've seen. Even Crayola pencils aren't like that, but it's all good. So I have used these before in the past, but not all the colors. These aren't even all the colors, but not a set. So I'm going to go ahead and swatch these. It lays down extremely vibrant. It feels good compared. It's extremely light, so it just feels like a regular pencil, which is, I think, is great. My other colored pencils, most colored pencils are round, and this isn't, so a little more control. I think it's more control, or better grip control, I guess I'll say. Alright, I'm gonna use a white pen, but I wanted to use something that won't smear. I'm not sure about black wing pencils smearing or not. I don't think they do. If they do, it's minimal, so I'm just gonna do a line across, and I just smear that a little bit so that it doesn't get too bad. And this is a white. These, oh well, look, there we go. That broke right away. Okay, so not pressed down. Won't press down pretty hard. These paints, I was gonna say, are supposed to be opaque, kind of, I think. So they'll be really vivid, but well, we got to see that on camera, and it did say, like I said, it did say break resistant tip on the box, so that was a lie. I didn't press down hard. I don't press down hard as anything else. I was kind of just going a little loosely, so I'm glad I recorded that to be aware of that. I'm gonna sharpen it again. So that was gonna lead me right into actually what I was gonna probably talk about. Didn't think I would, but anyway, these lids break pretty easily, I heard, and the one that I have doesn't. I have a yellow one, so I was used to that, but it's good to be aware. Every pigment's different, the way that they're made are different. Usually when pencils break, it's because it's not centered correctly, but this doesn't seem to be the case. I just pressed down too hard on this. Maybe I'll get a different sharpener that makes a more narrow, or less narrow point. I want to avoid cutting these with knives. I just don't like using blades on these to cut them irregular. Just like OCD about it, but that would be a better idea to do that, so you get less of your point out. Honestly, I might end up doing that if I keep using these and getting break points, but I'll just know kind of to be gentle with them. They're vibrant anyway, but with these you want to press down harder if you want more pigment instead of layered, or you could do layers, but you could also just press down. So like I said, just to be aware, light tension. Like most artist grade, they do seem to use up pretty quickly, just because all that pigment gets laid down really well, but I mean, I don't see them not lasting long. I mean, there you go, there's that point compared to other watercolor pencils, Caran d'Ache, Winsor Newton, the other ones I own. It seems to have the same amount of quality and use when it comes to wearability on the tips of these, but apart from that white one, these lay down okay, pretty well for the type of tension that I use. I was gonna go light, but I'm kind of just doing the same tension that I used on my other ones. Maybe the white one just got hit a lot and kind of got weak point. I don't know, or just like I said, it might. I'm just gonna declare the white pigment to be a weak binding or whatnot to keep that white pigment in. I'm not really sure, but either way, it doesn't seem like it's too big of a deal. There's just the yellow blue, which I love the yellow blue, and I love how it looks. So should activate pretty well. The green's okay. Parts of the tip are breaking off really easily, so I'm going lighter on this pencil as well. But a lot of pigment to go around. If I want to darken it, I just turn it around and get some of those sharp points right in there instead of digging in. And then the little specks, some of them moved, one blended in. So no big deal. Okay, 2 greens. Here's my other green. It was apple green. It's like a sap green. Looks nice. Oh yeah, and on here, I'll review the pencil real quick. Besides that, it does have its number here. I'm guessing that's its pencil number for the factory, maybe from, yeah. So Rembrandt watercolor by Lyra, Germany. And here is the tip. Now if you notice here, it's like dented, so it's not made that well. You know what I'm thinking is whatever grabbed these, the machine was dirty. So that's, sounds like someone was drinking on the job, and we'll just wipe that off, see if that comes off. Okay, it does appear to come off a little bit. It's just really dried pigment on there, so no big deal, but do want to emphasize that's just how it came. So let's cut into there. So the wood on top isn't that great, but everything else is nice. So yeah, that problem was definitely factory related, but it's all good. I'm trying to clean this off. I realized my towel isn't either. It's a microfiber cloth, so it's not that great for absorbing water, but it's great for cleaning. Really trying to get this green off. Okay, so maybe I was wrong. So I thought this was watercolor, right? What it appears to be are other, it's all the colors of this. It's all the colors of the color labels. And something happened, and now it's got bits of the color labels. So like that red is this material here. And the white here on this is this material here. So it is what it is. No big deal. I can feel that this one is soft. So usually I can feel that with stuff, you know, like light stuff, so I know like, oh, better go light to not break it. But that, yeah, that white color pencil broke right away. The others are fine, so that's good. Like I said, I don't expect these to blend out perfectly just because it's not on the perfect side of the page, but it should still give me a hint of how these work, and also just how the colors dry and dilute or become soluble in the water. Not dilute, but activate in the water. Alright, so that's the tin. I'm not going to keep the sleeve on, I'm just putting it on right now, but I'm probably going to throw it away in a little bit. Alright. I'm going to use a little more regular brush. It's no brand, but it's a Caran d'Ache brush. And the reason I say that is just because I don't know nothing about it, so if anyone wants to look that up later or whatever, Caran d'Ache brushes are brushes that Caran d'Ache endorse. That's that. Okay, so that's the first one. Can't really see it. No big deal, but it's not as opaque as my Van Gogh white. So it's I'm not really sure. It doesn't look like it's a highlight one, so it might just be like a blending brush, or it should be an opaque white though, so I just need to play with it. Yeah, the side of the paper is not that great, but it does give a nice hint of what this could be. So I wouldn't pay attention to any separation just because of the grain on the backside, or just notice the separation from the grain on the backside and take that into account why it'll look like that or blend out like that. It's just because of the paper. Um, when people say paper make a big difference, makes like your other items make a better difference than the watercolor paper paint itself, like your focus on your brushes and your paper. What they mean by that is not to buy other watercolor paper from a different brand, but that's the same as whatever you were using. When people say that, they really mean to use cotton paper instead of whatever paper you're using. When you change the paper, then it'll make, if you're ever trying to figure out what to buy or what you need or what you're lacking of, and you're not using 100% cotton paper, that's the first thing you'd go to. Because when you start working on that paper, that's when you can decide what ink, what you need, what works well with whatever type of style you're doing. But it's true, the foundation, in other words, is not the paint. And for the most part, right? So like, I say that, and the reason I have, or I'm trying these pencils out, is just really because I want to buy Rembrandt paint, because I've seen paints done by that, pieces done by that paint, and but the reason, or Rembrandt paint's kind of expensive and I don't need any more paint, so I decided if I get watercolor pencils, that'll let me understand the pigment without having to buy a whole set of the big paints of these, since I won't use them, since I have so much other paints. And I don't need any more of any type, so of medium. So yeah, this one didn't blend that much. Like I said, I am using the backside, but the others did blend okay enough to know how that one works. So it's good to know. And cotton paper is really great because you can work this stuff amazingly. Lifts up really well, this paint, so that's really good. I'm not doing anything but just drawing my brush to the side, just because this thing holds a good amount of water. Just tapping, you can see drops of water, so this is a good brush for watercolor, but I think I would probably use a drier brush for watercolor pencil. Alright, now I don't think these are blending out as well as they could, so I'm going to just jump in here so I can catch that. So what I'm going to do is flip it over and see if I can get some of these paints to work a little differently than what I'm seeing on this side. After I finish my swatch, every brand paint has problems with something, you know, most of them are like earth colors. These look great. There's nothing I'm expecting of these because I've never had them or used them, so I don't like, hope they do something specific for me at all. Hoping they're different than what I'm used to, so I don't have extra of the same too much, but that black color don't give a fuck where it's at. It does well, really well. Blends out and lifts well too. Can't do that with just linear paper. You can do that with cotton paper. You can really get a lot out. Lift that up, clean that paper. Look at that. I mean, you can really lift and do that stuff. Just example of just the black paint alone, how much you can work that paint. So keep that in mind when it comes to looking for good paper. I mean, look at that, just cleaned up with black paint. So here's a swatch of those colors. They came out great except for these last ones, or these middle ones here. So I'm gonna flip it around and try it on the very bottom here and see how those do. So I'm gonna go ahead and try the red to the green on the bottom here. Not sure why it opens this way. I'm used to things opening this way. So what I'm going to do is just turn this over. Which is probably what happened. I don't really know what the fuck's going on. Anyway, that's better for me. So more swatches on the bottom. Wow, look at that. This is cracked all the way in. So that kind of sucks. It's not going to affect it in any way. If you, probably the heat, if you ever have needed to, or use certain pencils that need to be heated in the microwave for certain reasons. People do this, then it's just sometimes they break the barrel, you crack the barrel, and that's because of lack of moisture or lack of good finishing, or both. So it is what it is. I might just apply some oil on them. This is sealed with something, so because this blue one has a crack in it, I can just throw in some type of oil in there and that should help repair it. But this crack is a split and it's all the way down. I mean, that line right there goes all the way down. This is holding it. So by me adding some type of thing in there, or it actually has the seal on there, so that helped it as well. So it should be okay. Be just fine. You know what? I made a good amount of space because these swatches are very tiny, so I'm just gonna go ahead and add the other colors and see if we can see some of this vibrancy off of them on this page, on this side, despite the size of pigment laydown. It's not a lot. Yeah. But we're gonna do it. What else am I missing? Missing the brown. The black was good, so I don't need to wonder about that at all. Okay, that's okay. Alright, well that was a little anticlimactic. I thought that, I had a feeling with after the Winsor Newton, I was like, that was pretty, I'm not that happy about it, but it ended up being okay. It's not expensive, the price of these are around less than $15 usually. So, you know, you do get what you pay for, but sometimes you don't want to pay for that. Alright, well, so it looks like this paint here, you really got to work at it, but it doesn't really blend out that good. So good to know. People either really love this color, or people do really love this color, so it always stays even though it's a known type of fusion in color. So maybe this pigment would be good despite it. It does need a little more work in it, but look, it's workable. So, because you have to work it, it is good to use really good quality paper. And artist grade paint dries really well, so I'm not really worried too much about how it looks when it's dry. So I just worry about how I'm working it out while it's wet, and I really just trying to make it blend more on that edge, but that's kind of it. Okay, so And we'll go down to here. These colors specifically. So it's good to know these things you really gotta work out. And I mean like the color. Like you gotta work this color back out of its lead form and really bring that solubility from that water into it to blend out. So it took a while. Still got that line from the line is like the beginning of the swatch. So pressure line that I used in my hand. So I'm wetting here by the way because I'm trying to get that excess water out. It's got a good amount of water. So look at that. That blended out really nice. There we go. Yeah, this thing's got some water on it. For funds, I'm gonna use a different brush. It's a good brush. I'm gonna use one that just holds a little less water. I'll use a squash brush. Okay, so it's clean and ready for action. All right. Maybe I should add more water to that. Let's go. Okay. This one's very granulated, kind of. There it is. So. Okay, I know this one held less water, but I think it's just not great for working in. So, now that I use those two, I guess my squirrel mop really does hold a lot too. So, actually, no, I'm gonna still use this. So, okay. And the color is great on these. I like the way they dry. The blendability of these, quite a bit of these, seems to be a little finicky to work with. But I just gotta get used to it. Everything's like that at first, so to be fair. It's just a different brand. But like this right here and this dries very granulated, and we're gonna compare it to the others. I'm gonna experiment, but I think like over time I'm gonna find a better brush and a better way to use this, because I am moving it around like I do my other watercolor pencils. This does seem like it would benefit from a different method, to be honest, somehow. Just maybe in the brush, I need to find a brush that just works with it. Sometimes I have mediums that just likes a certain brush only, and this kind of feels that way. It likes a dry brush, like even this is still wet. So this is, see, still wet. So it looks like these watercolor pencils are really dry, real dry. But we're back at the colors that blend out well regardless. But from the last ones, it seems like about a third to a half of my colors have that weird problem where they won't blend out. Unlike all my other ones on this swatch card, I had no problem with that at all. So something to be aware of. I'm going to be using these Rembrandt for the rest of the week, and hoping I get used to them, and hoping that in whatever way I'm unsure of how they work, I can understand that and deliver that on another review, maybe a later review, or a drawing that I did with it or something like that, painting I did with it, whatever you want to call it, once I work through this way. But I mean, no doubt with this paper you can practice. Like people say, don't waste good paper to practice, but I think the opposite, because good paper you can practice with. The regular paper is like, if you mess up, you mess up. And on here, yeah, if you mess up, I mean, there's ways you can change it, use another part of the paper, but you can lift good quality ink out too. So it's just up to you, just find a good deal. But if you can find any cotton paper, I mean, you can find cotton paper all color, find some on Amazon, postcard size, 100% cotton for like less than $8, $7. Buy like 15 sheets for 12, or for like $7 for those kinds. So anyway, I just say that because that's the kind of paper that you want for this, for these pencils. You don't want like soft paper, bristle, or sketch. Now, that being said, okay, so like this could be, yeah, no, this is done. Okay. Looks like the colors don't run too much. They get a little bit better intensity with more water added. But good to know you can work on them, over them a little bit better than the other ones. So that's about it. Here's some more swatches up close. So they separate fairly grainy compared to my other ones. Sort of grainy, that green there. But the rest, never mind those dots. I don't know how that got on there, but I mean the rest are put on fairly well, the same way. And these are smaller, but I mean these are the colors on the back. And we're gonna compare that because like the last ones blend out okay, but I mean you can see all that graininess in those pigments. So looks like also this is gonna be an awesome granular set. I don't own any granular sets of much ink. Some of my stuff is opaque, semi-opaque and granular, and I kind of just know which colors are which ones and know what I shouldn't mix, but I don't really try to have a full set or memorize which ones are which. Like I know some of my paints are opaque, some are not, so if I want an opaque, I know what I should add or mix to make whatever colors aren't. And so anyway, the reason I say that is because it looks like all these colors dry granulated with the same type of way that I do these. So the back of the paper, now it's dry, also reflects that it's a little bit breaks apart. So, and then that too kind of gets off that cheap watercolor where it just doesn't blend out. But I mean, look at the black example, it worked out well. The last ones are well too, and also very granular. So I'm definitely gonna make this my granulation set, and whatever I can do to make granulated stuff. So definitely my plein air kit, maybe, since it has good granular stuff. I'm trying to work through this here because what I think I'm gonna do after this video, because it looks like I can keep working this and get more of my pigment out and it still stays granular. So I've been wanting a reason to buy one of these, but I'm gonna buy a color pencil mixing board. To tell you the truth, I can probably buy a cutting board, a plastic cutting board at the store, but it'll be the same price. So this is made for it, but it's just a Caran d'Ache mixing board for color pencils, and it's just like a little rough textured square that you brush your color pencil on, so that way you can put a couple of colors together and then actually work that out into a nice color that you sifted through finely to get those granulations more smoother and work it out. So what we see here is we got rid of so many of those lines, so I was able to work through that and then try to this. Now it's still wet, but I'm thinking, oh damn, my finger got on there. But I'll be able to even work this out even more after. I didn't want to move too much of the pigment, or get rid of the pigment, just move that granulation around. But yeah, so it looks like it can be worked on or worked with a little better, but this is not really as good as the Winsor Newton or the Caran d'Ache. So be aware of that when it comes to workability, when it comes to layout and blending and picking up, lifting up. but it looks like the pros are also the opposite of the cons, which are good, which are they don't lift easily, and the pigment is pretty vivid still. They're light fast, and so this is the set to have if you don't want to fade, but if you don't really care, and also colors don't really fade too bad, and also they can be worked on, especially if you gotta fix it too. You could just add the vividness to them with other colors in the future, but other than that, I would probably stick with Carandash, the new ones maybe, but Winsor & Newton, you can't go wrong, and Kimberly is probably the best of the color pencils compared to the Carandash, Winsor & Newton, and the Lyra. Okay. So, I mean, they just work better. Look at that blue. The colors are pretty. And, yeah. I don't regret buying this set, but there are better sets. So, that is the Lyra German-made Rembrandt watercolor pencils. Thanks for watching.